from the Koso Wasan, or Hymns of the Pure Land Masters of Master Vasubandhu. Of those who encounter the power of the primal vow, not one passes by in vain. They are filled with the treasure ocean of virtues, the waters of their passions, not separated from it. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. So wonderful to see all of you here today on what is going to be a warm day today. So we don't get those often much here in Washington, but when we do, there are many people who enjoy it. I personally like the cooler weather, but that's just me. In fact, actually, I often, and this is not Buddhist of me, but I often gloat to my parents when they are suffering in the California heat, and we get like, when they're like, oh, it's like 80 degrees, it's like 90, it's 100 here. I'm like, oh, well, it's only going to reach up to 70 something degrees. So that's, but now I cannot do that because it's going to be almost 90 degrees today, if not 90 degrees today. I'm also very much grateful and thankful to all the members who were able to come out to Pride yesterday and to help and to volunteer at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple tent, as well as attend Pride as a guest and everything. I actually really enjoy going to Pride because it's a chance here in Tacoma for all members of the LGBTQ plus community, as well as allies, to come out and show their support, to be able to self-express themselves, and to be able to, really be proud and be very open about who we are. And during the event, I was able to walk around and introduce myself and shake hands with the other religious organizations who were present there. So we had members of the Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church, the Episcopalian Church, Universalist Church, various Christian organizations were there. And some of them even have wonderful programs that cater specifically to our community members of the LGBTQ plus community. One of them is what's called a transparent closet, which those who are transsexual or transitioning can go to this organization and get free clothes and everything. And it's a wonderful service, I think. And so I will definitely be hanging that sign up in the foyer for that. It was a wonderful day of love and compassion and self-expression. Of course, I have to give a real big shout out to our president, Gavin Morgan, who was there the entire day, really talking up our temple, expressing his love for the temple, and reminding all people that they are welcome here to this temple. Which, of course, I myself will echo once again. All are welcome and come as you are. This is a sentiment that is given to us by Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light and infinite life. All are welcome to the Pure Land. All are embraced by Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. All are embraced by the Dharma. This is why I read this passage today from Master Vasubandhu, that no one passes by in vain. Of all who encounter the Buddhist teachings and the primal vow, not one person passes by in vain. One of the wonderful things about Jodo Shinshu is that you don't have to change yourself in a superficial way in order to receive and to benefit from the working of the Dharma. You don't have to make yourself straight. You don't have to act more like a woman or act more like a man. You don't have to be a quote unquote good person, right? Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you should go out and do bad things or commit harmful things. But what it means is that all of you, you are embraced for who you are and how you are and how the world perceives you too. Amida Buddha embraces you for who you are, right? This is to say that because we are all of us here, myself included, are unenlightened, we are embraced by Amida Buddha. Sadly, at Pride, there seems to always be this case. There were a few people walking around with a not so very nice sign. Pride is supposed to be a day of love, acceptance, joy, and compassion, and togetherness. And yet, always there seems to be those who digress from that. And there was a person walking around and with an entourage of some folks as well, carrying a sign, and please forgive my language here, but carrying a sign that said, "Ask me why you deserve to burn in hell." And they were just touting this sign very proudly, walking around. Now, of course, there were people who were yelling at them and telling them to leave and that, they should, go away and shaming them and everything. And of course, my initial reaction when first seeing this, this not very accepting sight was anger. Of course, this anger was rising up. Like, how can this person do this? This is a time of, peace, togetherness, self-expression, joy, love, community. Why be such a detractor to that? Why go out of your way to say such hateful things, right? So I was getting very angry. But then I also stopped and thought about things as well. And I also felt, I don't want to say pity, but kind of pity for this person too. What kind of circumstances was this person born in to be raised this way, to think this way? Now, of course, me saying this doesn't excuse their behavior or their message whatsoever. Their message is deplorable. Their message, I think, is not in the spirit. And I mean, again, I'm not a Christian and I'm not a Christian priest or Christian clergy, but I would venture to say that an open Christian clergy person would say that this message is not in the spirit of Christianity itself. But of course, so this is not to excuse or to say like what he was doing was good. But it also, part of our Buddhist teachings and part of our Buddhist practice is not to immediately act in anger, right? As much as we may want to sometimes, as much as we may want to throw stones or shame this person or attack them or take down their, forcibly take down their sign and rip it to shreds, right? Our teachings also encourage us to show compassion, not to accept what they're doing, not to be complicit in what's happening, but to come from a place of, I should say, not understanding, but of understanding to a degree. Ask ourselves, what circumstances was this person brought up in? What circumstances causes them to continue to act this way, to behave this way, to show such hateful speech? And I was actually walking with Fred and Les in the, at Pride during that time when I saw this person, and I kind of laughed to myself and I said, as much as I get angry and want to, like yell at this person, there's another part of me that wants to go up to them and say, "Do you need a hug?" Right? It's like, that's the question. Who hurt you? Right? What is the cause of this, of such loathing to this, for this person to come out? And when we think about, people who do things like this, who spew such hateful speech, we have to remember that a large part of that hatred, a large part of that loathing is directed at themselves, is directed inward. And they don't know how to deal with that. They don't know how to accept that. So the only thing that they can do is project that hatred onto other people. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that we should stay silent or that we should, tolerate what this person does. But we can, but then if we come from a place of compassion and we come from a place of kindness even, maybe they won't be so, maybe not for sure, but maybe they won't be so entrenched in their position. I've often found that when I severely disagree with a person, if I immediately react in anger and try to yell at them or shout at them and get super mad and show hostility, they become even more entrenched in their backwards thinking. But at the same time, if I can really sit down and look a person in the eye and try my best to see what is causing such anger and hatred, maybe perhaps this person will see that that there isn't just hostility and anger in the world, that there is another way, a way of peace and a way of compassion. But to that end, if this person is so insistent, if the person was so insistent that only their way was their way and only and any other way leads to the path of hell, I'm often reminded of a passage from the Tani Show, which is a collection of sayings that Shinran Shonin, our founder, had said. And one of them was the fact that at some points the Nembutsu teaching, our teaching of Namu Amida Butsu, was being challenged. And he said, I have no idea whether the Nembutsu is truly the seed for my being born in the Pure Land, or whether it is the karmic act for which I must fall into hell. Should I have been deceived by Master Honen and saying the Nembutsu were to fall into hell, even then I would have no regrets. This is to say that there may be those around you who say things like this, especially based on who you are and how you present yourself, and the fact that you are who you are. And this is me saying that at this temple, at the Tacoma Buddhist temple, you are embraced for who you are. You are accepted for who you are. You have a place here. No one will ever shun you or push you away because of how you identify and how you present yourself. I think this is a message that we have to say from time to time and again and again. It's important because we live in a world with people outside of ourselves, with beyond just ourselves, people who agree with us, who like us. There are those who will, unfortunately, say horrible things to us as well. But I am also happy to say that despite this act of hate and this walking around of bigotry at Pride, 99.99999% of it was all wonderful, happy community together and celebration. And that is the important thing. It's important to remind ourselves that hatred and violence, intolerance, and bigotry towards those members of the LGBTQ plus community, who, by the way, many are members of this temple. We can't think of this as an outside problem. Oh, this doesn't affect that, right? No, of course not. There are many members who identify as such who come to this temple. And this is a refuge for them. This is a refuge for all people. We have to remind ourselves that this is not a problem of the past still. Sadly, in today's society, hatred and intolerance seem to be on the rise. Or maybe it's just getting filmed more, or maybe we're just seeing it more. But how do we combat this? We combat this, I think, not only with Namu Amida Butsu, but in how we treat others in our daily lives as well. Yes, I think legislation does have a little bit to do with it, but ultimately, it's seeing that we ourselves are also responsible for how society goes. We ourselves are responsible for the harmony that we can have in this world. I encourage all of us to go out into the world with a deep sense of love. I'm not saying don't get angry, right? To suppress anger is also unhealthy. Believe it or not Buddhist. Buddhism allows for anger, not rage and anger that leads to violence or to destruction, but righteous anger that shows when an injustice is clearly happening in front of us. But what do we do with that anger? Do we turn it into more anger and to violence and destruction? No. We turn we turn that anger into positive activity. And in my personal opinion, to being kind to other people. One of the best things that I've seen, especially in these times when when people these days are so open in their bigotry, was that one of the tactics against this is to sit next to the person who's being attacked and to show them that they are not alone, to show them that there is kindness and compassion. Of course, condemning and saying that the person, who's doing the attacking is wrong, but to also be there with a great sense of compassion and togetherness for the person being attacked. I think this is very important for us to examine in our society and we're here in the now. And I think that this can be backed up by our religious teachings as well. But going back to the sense of the person who's doing the hatred as well, is it possible for us as Buddhists to try to change their mind as well? If we can show them that compassion exists and that their message of hate and divisiveness is not getting through, is that not a road to compassion and to hope? I'm not going to say that we'll be able to change everybody's mind or that everybody will change for the better. But I am saying that it's possible, I think, if we continue preaching a message of togetherness, community, acceptance, and Amida's never-ending love and wisdom and compassion meant for all beings, that we can still help to create a society that is more harmonious and together. I would like to thank you all and wish everyone here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple a happy Pride. And I certainly want to once again reiterate that here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple, you are most welcome and to come as you are. Please join me in Gassho as I once again read the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. Of those who encounter the power of the primal vow, not one passes by in vain. They are filled with the treasure ocean of virtues, the waters of their passions not separated from it. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandat, 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 namandat.